You know, computers don't have imagination. Robots don't have imagination. People have imagination. I mean, give the person with imagination a little bit more credit. That's what I reckon. Reward creativity. You know, there's no way a robot's going to come up with this sort of a thing. Look how crazy that is. From left to right. The 666, the nasty pasty, infanticide, the white plague, and no Gertie. I want to talk a little bit about the evolution of design. The infanticide is about me having a few different sounds on the one instrument. It's almost like 3 instruments in the one. And it's basically pretty much a departure from an instrument. It's pretty much a noise machine. This is where I'm getting to now. I'm getting rid of long scale. I'm shortening the scale just for the simple fact that I want to take it on the plane with me. I don't want to put it in the hold. I need to keep it in my possession so I can look after it. I was doing lots of grindcore. It was improvised, so you could say it's noisecore. Lots of short songs. You need to be agile. You need to basically play without thinking. You're just sort of reacting. It's a really fast form of improv. You haven't got time to think. You're just listening and playing. And Holy Boner, it's a trio at the moment with myself, Rod Cooper, Nick Kennedy and Brad Smith on drums. Nick's on bass. So I've built something for Nick and we're heading to Japan, and unfortunately Brad can't come with us, so I need some percussive elements, right? And this snare fibre is incredibly resonant, and you can tune it as well. It's pretty much my own design. I haven't seen it anywhere else. And then I've got the strap, and that sort of gives me a lot of squeaking sounds, and then the various sounds from the 2 motors. It's got a lot in it. The back of it's a little bit heavy because it's got a stainless steel plate because the thinness of this marine ply. I had to build a body so I had to cover all the electrics, so I just got this sheet of stainless and I've kind of hammered it into a bit of a shape here. And it's also missing some screws because it's done a lot of playing in this machine, and that's another reason why I really like it. I'll always be able to use it in Holy Boner and in Yendo Brook. However, at the moment, I really love this little one because the White Plague, it's much simpler. It doesn't have the snare. It's a lot lighter. Again, it's really easy when you're getting around places like Tokyo and you've got to get in and out of train stations and get up and down flights of stairs. And again, you keep it in your hands, you keep it in your possession. It's in your overhead locker while you're on the plane. It's never more than 2 feet away. Because when you've got a gig and the airline has lost your instrument and you're panicking because you've got to play tonight, this is the whole reason why I've designed it like this. You don't have to wait at the carousel. You can still have a big suitcase if you want. And I even make them. This is actually more of a suitcase size. These both fit into a F mandolin case, but you can also put them in the smaller suitcases that you can take on board. And now what I've done when I built Nick's bass, that was the scale of that was exactly 24 inches. And that fitted into a bigger, slightly bigger suitcase, right? And I've also got a little suitcase, because the art of travelling, and when you're touring by yourself and your own roadie and all that sort of stuff, because you're playing this really experimental music and all these underground scenes, it's all DIY, and I'm just about making it easier for myself. I may not have the versatility in this machine like I've got with this machine, the Infanticide. I mean, I still love this thing, but I'm always going for light, you know? It's got to be light for me, and I'm pretty much there now. I don't think I can really get these things any lighter other than cutting holes in the body. You know, I've removed the headstock. This headstock only holds the ball end, and then I've got my two machine heads down here which provide me with my tuning, and then I've set the bridge exactly where I want the strings to be resting above these spinning cogs, which are a big part of the timbre qualities of this instrument. Just want to get in a bit closer here so you can see some of the parts. This is a little motor with a worm gear on it. Makes a string just move backwards and forwards quite vigorously. And then here I've got a textured wheel, and you get the string on the fretless fingerboard into various positions just by sliding it across. Now, the evolution of this has come over a long period of time of starting off with hand cranked hurdy-gurdies on top of banjo skins, and then eventually they've made their way into the electric domain. Which is where I want to be. And if I hadn't gone to the Mississippi Crossroads and done my blues trip and met Johnny Lobro from Memphis, who said to me, it's really easy. You can even make your own pickups by hand. You can just buy pickups and put them together how you want to. If you've done wiring, if you've done soldering, you'll be able to do it as soon as you get home, and that's exactly what I did. And I eventually made my 666 because I was at the Crossroads and everybody had been talking to me about the devil and Robert Johnson. It was, you know, the anniversary of his 100 years of his birth. It's pretty significant, and it's in the program. I haven't got it with me now, but it's just one of those moments in my life where I realised that I really do love making sound objects, whether they be instruments, sound sculptures. Now I'm calling them noise machines, because I'm actually interested in exploring noise more than music at the moment. I think there's been so much music produced over the years that there's more room for noise in performance. You know, I've seen some of these 3D printed guitars. I could maybe send this to some young cool designer who's some, you know, hipster dude with his computer, and they can do the coding and have it all done in, you know, a few weeks, and it's all precise and it was all drawn up on the computer. But I just don't think it's where I want to be, you know. I'm not saying that those 3D printed guitars don't sound any good. I've heard a couple of them sound like crap, but then you can get wooden guitars that sound like crap as well. But for me, it's about handmade, and you know, I'm pretty happy when I'm in the workshop and I'm building things, and I just think that the idea of homemade has really changed around a lot for me over the years. I don't want to define what I do just because of architectural specificity. You know, the point of manufacturing it's got nothing to do with it. It's, for me, it's where they end up on the stage. That's what I really build them for. When people are up there and they're playing my instruments, or I'm in the midst of my own gig, that's what it's about. And I can only come up with these ideas because I'm pushing myself by going overseas, by playing in Japan, by doing a big American tour. And going to New Zealand and going to the UK and picking places where I think that my work's going to resonate with the locals, and that's what I like doing. And for me, it's been Tokyo, and it's only 10 hours from Australia, and these small instruments fit right in. You know, I've got a small hotel room, I've got a small suitcase, I'm on a plane, I'm packed in on the train when I'm going to the gigs. And it's all part of the hustle and bustle of playing music and getting to your audience and also your community. And I just don't think that you're going to be able to achieve that. I've taken, you know, years to get to this point where I'm happy with what I'm building. And yeah, sure, it's got rough bits on it, and you know, that's where the jigsaw chipped it out, because I hadn't bought a bandsaw at that point. I mean, this one's also jigsaw cut. The last one that I built, that's been bandsaw cut, but who cares, you know? Who cares how it's done? I just do it because I have to. I have no choice. I'm driven to make these things, and I don't want to build guitars like everybody else, and I certainly don't want to make them with a robot. I mean, robots made parts of this, and I'm happy. You know, thanks, robot. Thanks for making me my little motor. Sure, the robot is now out of the factory and it's in your backyard. Cool. But, you know, if I didn't roam the streets trying to find little printer motors or CD motors or wherever I get them from, that's out of a printer. That's my special plate that I designed, and I cut it all back. You're not going to do that on a computer because you're just not going to think about it. You're not going to have it in your hand and the tin snips and the grinder. But I'm able to then come along with a pair of cutters and go snip and cut the heads off these guitars. I can cut the wires on the motors. I can do whatever I like. And sure, it's a combination of human and robot made, but don't get rid of the human. Don't get rid of the human designer, and don't get rid of the human builder, because we got these beautiful things called hands, you know? Look at mine, I've still got all my fingers, touch wood. You know, people have said, oh, it looks a bit like a pussycat. Well, yeah, I suppose I was thinking of pussycats. I was thinking about Angus and the devil's horns and all that. And, you know, I was thinking about my time back in the Crossroads. Well, with this machine, I've done so many good gigs that I don't care if it's a bit roughed up. You know, when you make it yourself, you do your own rallying while you're working. Sometimes I drill a hole and I think, oh well. So here is innovation in its most basic rudimentary form. A simple motor hacked from a printer. A wheel cut out on a drill press with a bit of hardwood and a hole saw, and then sanded back by hand and then fitted onto the shaft. A stainless steel tailpiece with a threaded string keeper. Stainless steel neck just brutally bolted on. You know, look at the length of the heel and the tongue and all that. You know, there's a fair bit of surface area there connecting it, and it sounds great. I mean, this stainless steel neck is incredible. The resonance I get out of it and the volume I get out of it. And then you come up to the headstock. Now, I had a lot of trouble with the headstock because, as you can see, the tubing there is not thick enough to take the shaft of the machine head, so I've had to put a little wafer of plywood, but that helped me bolt the screws on. That's just sitting there like a little gasket on a head of a motor. But you know, having that extra machine head off to the side that runs down to my motor, it's just very simple. You know, a robot's not going to do that. A robot's not going to come up with such a simple concept that changes the way that you can play the guitar on one string.